Welcome back. I hope you had a chance to stretch your legs and maybe grab a snack. Now, this next speaker I am very excited about. Last summer, we both attended a conference held by the Steamboat Institute in Colorado, where he spoke on a similar topic, and I know you're going to enjoy this. Braeden's message is full of hope for Generation Z. Braeden is a social media expert and influencer. He is the son of film actors and producers Sam and Kevin Sorbo, which, by the way, Sam Sorbo, his mother, will be speaking tomorrow at 2 p.m. Braeden played the role of Gus Harkins in the movie Let There Be Light and was praised for his honest portrayal of the character. His interest in public speaking has led him to speak for various organizations, such as the Steamboat Institute in Colorado, where I first saw him, and the Education Policy Council in St. Louis. He is currently working on a book which views politics through the lens of a sarcastic teenager. Please help me welcome Braeden Sorbo.
Can you hear me all right? Are we good? Okay. This is interesting to do like a live stream at the same time. I like it. It's cool. Can I just start off by saying thank you to Ronnie for setting this all up and her team, because this is an amazing event. So thank you so much for having me. I just wanted to say that. I started my journey on social media on TikTok last year. Since then, I've gained over 1 million followers. My plan was simple. I was going to tell one joke a day. I honestly didn't really think much of it, but people seemed to really enjoy the content I was posting, so I kept doing it. Day after day, I'd find a new joke to tell to my fans. Sometimes I'd find my jokes on social media, sometimes random web pages, and sometimes fans would DM me jokes that they thought would fit my page. I never knew how much of an impact I was having until one day I was reading through message requests, and a message came across my screen. It said, "Hi, you don't know me. My name is Max, and I watch your videos every day. When I go to school, the kids bully me and make fun of me, and I hate it. I come home sad and I go to your page. Watching your videos makes me happy, and you've given me something to look forward to. Thank you." Now, as the flyer said, my name is Braeden Sorbo, and today we will be diving into the realm of social media. Think of it as the magic carpet ride from Aladdin. It's a whole new world. First, we're going to define the terminology. Next, we will talk about the current day platforms, their uses and users. And finally, we shall weigh the pros and cons of social media. So, let's get started. Before we begin, allow me to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm an 18-year-old kid who wants to be an actor, but then again, that pretty much describes everyone. So to be more specific, I'm an 18-year-old with 1 million followers on TikTok, and I get paid to make videos. I've been posting on social media, like I said, for over a year now, and it is the best job that I could possibly ask for. Not only do I get to do what I love, but I also get to meet the coolest people. From enjoying content creation and the company of friends to being approached by fans, social media has changed my life. But enough about me, let's talk about you. What do you think of my hair? Before we get into the nitty-gritty of social media, do you know how it all started? Many people like to credit Mark Zuckerberg for the invention of modern social media because he was one of the founders of Facebook, a site I'm sure most of you are familiar with. However, it is not the direct origin of the ever-changing world that we know and love today. There have been numerous other websites that one can credit with the originating of social media, but let's take a moment to go back in time and examine the heart of the matter. The first ever social media website created came about in 1997. It was named 6degrees.com, and it was a site where you could organize a profile page, message people, and create a list of connections. It was eventually bought out for over $125 million and taken down in the year 2000. However, since then has come back and made a comeback and is still around today. The next large site to ever be created was called amihotOrNot.com, and I'm sure you can guess what this site was used for. Users would upload a photo of themselves so that others could rate them on their appearance. As pointless as this site seems, it's also rumored to have influenced the creators of YouTube and Facebook when they were designing their platforms. As if that wasn't enough, the site also helped people focus on their insecurities and nurtured millions of hurt feelings. In 2003, MySpace launched alongside FaceMash. FaceMash was created by Mark Zuckerberg while he was a student at Harvard as a dating site intended to replace Hot or Not. Its more successful, better-looking brother, the Facebook, followed in 2004, and in less than a year, Facebook dropped the and it garnered over 1 million users. Originally intended just for college students, people from all walks of life started creating accounts on Facebook to keep updated with their friends and family. Around this time, everything took off. People recognized the usefulness of social media. LinkedIn, Flickr, WordPress, YouTube, and Twitter all came onto the scene between the years 2004 and 2006. This was a new wave of technology, and it took the world by storm. Over the course of the next 3 years, basically every major player staked their ground, and the rest were just rubble on the information superway. So now that we know the origins of social media, I'd like to discuss the different players in the game today. We're going to start off with YouTube. YouTube is a website that allows its users to watch videos posted by creators and upload content of their own. While many organizations and companies also use YouTube to expand their reach and promote their businesses, the majority of YouTube videos are produced by individuals. YouTube places ads on its users' videos in exchange for splitting the revenue generated by said ad. Every time a video is viewed, liked, or commented on, the algorithm picks up on this and promotes the video more to the general public. You see, the more views your video gets, the more money you make from the ad. When it comes to the homepage, YouTube will show you a compilation of everything until you start watching videos. After that, the algorithm begins to pick up on what you like, and it begins recommending similar content, otherwise known as confirmation bias content. You see, this is useful as you then have the power to pick and choose what the majority of your homepage shows. YouTube also has a kid-friendly feature, which would work for smaller children. As the algorithm has already detected what you want your kids to watch, in theory, young children should be fine. We'll talk about a little more on that later. Next up, we have Twitter. As many of you already know, Twitter is a site that allows people to network and communicate with each other. Created with the purpose of bringing people together with a like, retweet, and comment feature. And they're doing great with the bringing people together part, huh? Twitter describes itself as a company that aims at giving everyone a voice. You can laugh at that. A voice to all those except the ones who post controversial pieces that the founder and his cronies disagree with. Tweets have a 280 character limit, and people use every single one of those characters to express their feelings. That's why Twitter is what I like to refer to as a toxic sinkhole filled with zombies, so not necessarily a site that I would recommend for small children. Moving on, we have Facebook, the site that makes it easy to connect with people and post relationship updates that nobody really cares about. Was that harsh? I'm sorry. Most folks don't care, but I suppose some do. However, I don't. So, originally intended for college students, this website has since been taken over by the baby boomer generation. The site is run by parents and everything in between. There's some kid-friendly content on there, but overall, the site just isn't intended for small kids. However, this next app, which happens to be the little brother of Facebook, is. Instagram is a visual social media site. Twitter relies on text, Facebook uses text and pictures, and YouTube is video. Instagram's sole purpose is to use visuals to tell a story. The name comes from a combination of Instant Camera and Telegram. Today, this is one of the mainstream apps used by Generation Z. It requires little to no thought or attention span, so it kind of makes sense that this is what teens like. That was a joke. Sort of. Regardless, it's a great app. Aside from the shadow bans that occur, I would really recommend this to an audience of almost all ages, as you can filter what you want to see on your homepage by choosing who and what to follow. Now, this next app has taken over the world with over 80 million downloads in the United States and over 2 billion downloads worldwide. I'm sure you can already guess I'm talking about TikTok. I mean, we all saw it coming. This app has recently been featured on our news almost daily. The app specializes in giving users the ability to discover, create, and share videos. It's like a modern-day karaoke. It gives people an outlet to express how they feel through dancing, comedy, lip-syncing, and singing. However, if you have turned on a TV in the past month or so, you've seen everything going on with TikTok. Currently, there is an enormous controversy over the app because people are trying to ban it in the United States. Reports are claiming that the communist Chinese government is stealing users' personal data. Now, I am in a very difficult dilemma because TikTok is how I make money. This is my job. So while I'm working to transfer my TikTok followers over to Instagram and YouTube, in the case that TikTok might be banned, which it's possible, because in case you hadn't noticed, there is a war from our Judeo-Christian culture and the communists. Which leads us to, is TikTok suitable for children? Yes and no. Yes, because the app is customizable like YouTube and Instagram. You can absolutely choose the type of content you want your little ones viewing. And much of that content is very innovative and it's engaging, but also no. Because every now and then, there is something with an underlying narrative that does manage to sneak in. And also because the CCP is stealing your data, maybe. Finally, that brings me to gaming. Now, many of you may not have been expecting this, but video games are their own form of social media. You have online multiplayer games with open lobbies to talk with both friends and complete strangers, which is just like messaging someone you don't know on Facebook or Instagram. I'd even argue that having a conversation with a stranger on Xbox Live is safer than over Instagram or Twitter because you cannot screenshot an Xbox voice chat. You are protected by a screen and a video game name. Some may argue that the anonymity allows people to be blatantly rude to each other, which is true. However, because these are strangers, their words fall on deaf ears, unless you're weak. Just kidding. The generation of kids who played open mic lobbies during the Xbox 360 years from 2010 to 14 are some of the most resilient people that I know today. Having withstood the scathing, scorching insults on the gaming platform, I will admit that I am a little bit biased when it comes to video games. So the idea is to protect yourself, right? That brings me to terminology. Social media terminology is its own beast, which is why it's important to learn what everything means. If we know what we're talking about, we could talk about it more confidently. Here is my personal list of the 5 most important social media terms you should add to your vocabulary. 1 is filter. Filter has 2 definitions. The first one is that filters are used by people to place over a photo on social media. No filters were created equal. Each one has a different overlay that can be placed on an image to change how they look and affect the picture. The second type of filter is what protects your eyes from what lies beneath the depths of the internet. This is what content must pass through before given the green light to go on the surface web. Number 2 is engagement. Engagement refers to any actions taken on your page by others' users. This can range from liking a picture, sharing a video, or even commenting on a post. The more engagement your post gets, the better it does. The third one is the algorithm. Now, the algorithm is the underlying system that keeps your posts relevant. It is how a website decides if you should go viral or not. The more engagement a post gets, the more likely it is that the algorithm will keep it afloat instead of letting it sink. Number 4 is impression. Impressions are the number of views a post has gotten. Every single time somebody views your pictures, the algorithm marks them down and checks it off as an impression. It's as simple as that. Now, final one, number 5, is my personal favorite. It's shadow ban. I am constantly the victim of it. If the algorithm detects that a post of yours might be somewhat controversial, it will take it down without actually deleting it. And that sounds a little bit confusing, so allow me to go in a little more depth. The original poster will still be able to see the video they posted as if it were up. However, other viewers won't. Keep this in mind when you're creating content. If you want it to be seen, trick the algorithm into showing it to as many people as possible to garner support. Once the algorithm realizes that some people think it's good, it will start showing it to others, and boom, you got a pretty good chance of going viral. So let's talk about the users. As we know, there are multiple platforms with multiple different age ranges. Each platform is tailored to a specific audience. Starting with YouTube, YouTube is a platform used by all ages, young and old. It doesn't really matter. Anyone and everyone posts videos of all kinds. It's really wonderful because YouTube has a teaching capacity. There's a young guy who taught himself astrophysics basically off of YouTube alone. I mean, geeks love this kind of stuff and it's available for free. I mean, talk about the homeschool possibilities. So, set a couple of content filters for your kids if you feel the need and let it rip because the world is their oyster and YouTube is the shell. Next up, we have Twitter. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a kid-friendly app, seeing it is virtually no pictures, and I like pictures. For the most part, kids would find this app boring. If they really want to be on it, there are some filters that you could put on to ensure they miss the bad stuff. However, Twitter is notoriously strict about inappropriate posts. Just understand, it's all in how you, or more or less they, define inappropriate, right? Facebook is pretty much 40 plus. The few teenagers you see on there, like myself, simply have it to keep save backup data for our video games that we have on our iPhones. We don't actually use the site for anything else. Instagram is the opposite of Facebook. The app is majority youth users, which is why advertisers for new products take advantage of its sponsored posts that are forcibly placed on everybody's homepage. Finally, we've come to TikTok. People who have downloaded this app mostly range between the ages of 6 and 40. I've personally seen my analytics and am proud to announce that my page caters to ages between 7 and 80. Now that we know the age range of who uses these common social media apps, we can start to examine their benefits and the dangers of said social media. One pro is its educational opportunities. People's learning quotient used to be limited by their access to either the news or an in-person source. With the advent of social media, we've taken education to the next level. No more waiting for the 5 o'clock news to hear what's what. Instead, we hear about nearly everything just moments after it's been reported. And much of that is on social media, even by big news agencies. The downside to this, of course, is that news has become much less reliable. According to a 2014 study from Indiana University, 78.5% of traditional media reporters polled used social media to check for breaking news. People now have the ability to read one article, form an opinion, and publish it via social media. You see, this is good, but it's also detrimental because when news travels as fast as it does today, misleading information spreads like a wildfire. By the time the truth is revealed, it's often just too late to change people's minds. The damage is done, and confirmation bias has set in. And don't think that there aren't media outlets taking advantage of this, because a publisher can utilize the initial story to craft a headline he knows he might have to apologize for days later. Apologies are issued on page 12, very small at the bottom corner, or in a single tweet a week after the original article has been published, when no one cares anymore. So, why do 59% of students with access to the internet report that they use social media for discussing and researching educational topics? Because it works well. A school in Portland introduced a social media program where they taught their students how to properly use the web as a tool for learning. The school witnessed grades go up by over 50%. 20% of students willingly volunteered to do extra credit assignments, and the absentee rate went down by 33%. But there is also the harmful effect social media can have on developing young minds. A recent article published in the Daily Signal discussed how groups of teenage girls are all deciding to become transgender because they feel uncomfortable with themselves. I was amazed. Transgender creators make a living by being themselves and posting about it. These teenage girls watch it, and they witness firsthand how the comment sections are flooded with loving and supporting messages, and think to themselves, how can I get some judgment-free praise too? Of course, this is indicative of a lack of self-confidence. Since everything is moving so quickly and everything is constantly changing, people want to be the next big hotshot, and teens are going to do whatever it takes to get the limelight, even if it's only for a few moments. Negative comments on a user's post result in backlash and even death threats. The most supported creators on the internet today happen to be members of the LGBTQX37 crowd. You know, the girls see the amount of admiration these creators get and want it for themselves. The best way to prevent your children from thinking that they have to change, to be appreciated, is simply to make sure that you're there for them and to offer them a strong identity in Christ. Also, homeschool, because government schools are forcing an agenda down the student's throat every single day. In fact, many teachers have decided to take it upon themselves to teach the students starting at kindergarten that the gender that they were assigned at birth by a doctor was by someone who didn't actually know any better, and that only they can decide for themselves and know for sure. Social media, if overused, can begin to replace real-world conversations, ultimately limiting the very social interactions it should be facilitating. And don't forget cyberbullying, one of the silliest things out there. Also, ironically, probably the easiest thing to prevent. Here's how you stop cyberbullying. Off. Who would have thunk? So what's the point? Right? Social media is a tool. It's like a hammer, and just like a hammer, it can be used to build or to destroy. This is how people make a living in today's world. It's simply another job. Just like people are paid to flip burgers, social media pays people to make movies or dance or Just create content. A company reaches out to a creator with a large following and offers them money and or product in exchange for a post that features said product. The person accepts, makes the post, drives revenue to the company. It's a win-win. This is a new frontier for e-commerce. That being said, be careful what you post. And make sure you guard your children when it comes to their posts as well, because things can come back to bite you. Believe it or not, some people spend most of their days scouring the interwebs looking for old posts of powerful people. They then bring to life a racist tweet from 83 years ago, and that person's life is over because of our newly minted cancel culture. So it's always smart to check yourself before posting possibly harmful content. You see, social media is where people make friends and build relationships. I personally have made more friends through social media than I have in real life. But don't get me wrong, I've hung out with these people and we've met in real life as well. Social media simply creates an environment that can facilitate communication with anyone, anywhere. They make pen pals of the entire world. A 2018 Pew Research study found that 81% of teens aged 13 to 17 reported that social media helps them feel more connected to the people in their lives. And 68% of them said that using it makes them feel more supported in tough times. I mean, you guys can probably report that from using your own social media apps, right? Twitter, Facebook, anything that allows you to connect with people who you otherwise would not be able to. That's the point, though, with social media. Connection. I met my best friend 3 years ago playing Fortnite, which I highly recommend for any annoying little kids to get them off of the games I actually enjoy now. We got put into the same team and started talking over voice chat. We added each other on Xbox and didn't talk for about a year until I moved to New York. And then I was in the time zone closer to him. We started playing every single night and just talked about life. You know, now the guy who's offered me so much great advice and intelligent conversation is a 24-year-old kinesiologist from Newfoundland whom I befriended on Xbox 3 years ago. He's also a bartender, which might account for his conversational abilities. We've yet to meet in person, by the way, but I have found his friendship fantastic and his counsel just incredibly useful. So that is one impact of social media that is overwhelmingly positive. I've made plenty of friends in real life. School, church, parties, you name it. But social media, and with that I'm including gaming, has provided me new frontiers for discovering friendships. You know, people can be fake. Some people will always be liars and cheaters. That's simply how life is. Social media isn't an enhancer for this. It's just another avenue to discover the world, to bring it closer to you, for better or for worse. Social media is a tool used by good and bad people to do right and wrong. With the world constantly changing, social media has become crucial to everyday life. Musician James Bay once brilliantly said, "The internet is the Wild West of the world, where anybody can throw anything down. Everything can be as relevant as the next thing. It doesn't matter who posts it." The internet's the Wild West. And so it's important to recognize the fact and use it to your benefit. So how do you protect your children from the dangers of social media while letting them experience its incredible opportunities? Your children, grandchildren, anyone you may know may hate this, but there are apps that you can get which allow you to block specific sites, limit a user's time on the phone, etc. This is a dangerous game, though, as we all know the youth is rebellious. When someone says, "No, you can't," we respond with, "Watch me." So how do you walk this tightrope of trust while keeping children safe? Teach them. Instead of simply cutting a child off from specific sites, which would only heighten their curiosity, teach them why that site is wrong. Protect your families by explaining how social media works, what each individual site is used for, who uses it, the pros, the cons. For instance, my mother warned us, you can't unsee things, so be careful what links you click on. Having unlimited freedom on the internet may feel great. You are a pioneer in this vast area, going from town to town, seeing new things, meeting new people, exploring. However, as the wise Uncle Ben from Spider-Man once said, with great power comes great responsibility. When we are given a great power like the world at our fingertips, we must equally take on the responsibility thereof. Parents, if you allow your children to roam free without this understanding, you are burdening them too much. They can't handle it on their own. Either you take the responsibility yourself and you educate and supervise them, or figure out a way to keep them in bubble wrap for the rest of their lives. There are reasonable ways to protect while at the same time championing discovery. There are amazing ways to impact people like Max, the boy from the beginning of my story. As parents, it is your job to instill in children how to properly use social media, how to explore the Wild West without getting in a gunfight. You wouldn't send your child into a saloon unsupervised, so walk through the internet with them. Discuss things with them, politics, religion, morality. Talk about values and your discernment of what site they may be on. Talk about current events. Involve them, like homeschool. On the screen here, if we can pull it up, I have some great pages that post educational content typically suitable for children. Take a picture. It's roughly worth 1/4 of this speech, 1,000 words. My name is Braeden Sorbo. I hope you've been writing down questions because I can talk a long, long time. And thank you.
There is nothing in this world more precious than a child. We treasure the immeasurable value and undeserved gift of children. God calls on all of us to protect the minds of our children from those who regard them as commodities. Marxist indoctrination, sex trafficking, and the enticement of the pop culture industry are crimes being committed against our children even as we speak. And that's why we are here. Would you join us in an effort to rescue them? Text the word rescuing to 50155 to donate any amount. Thank you.